My son laughed as he burned my old letters. He said coldly, "You're nothing to me anymore." I watched the flames and whispered, "You'll feel this burn in your own life soon." When he opened his mail the next day, he found, I raised my son Joel by myself from the time he was 5. His mom, Amanda, left us one night without a warning. She packed a bag while Joel slept and left a note on the kitchen counter that just said, "I need more." That was it. I found it when I came home from a graveyard shift at the steel mill in Gary, Indiana. Joel was still in his little superhero pajamas, sitting at the kitchen table asking where Mommy went. She never came back. Not once. Not for birthdays. Not for Christmas. Not for graduation. I held it together because I had to. I didn't have time to cry. I didn't have the space to fall apart. I went from being a dad to being everything: cook, teacher, driver, comforter, everything. I worked 2 jobs. I barely slept. I gave up on dating. Gave up on anything for myself. I focused on making sure Joel had what he needed. Not just food and clothes. I mean real stuff: books, field trips, late-night talks, birthday parties. I hand-wrote him letters. For every milestone, for every moment I couldn't afford to be there physically. When he went off to college, I wrote him once a week. I never got a letter back. He told me people didn't write letters anymore. Said I should just text. But I kept writing them. It was my way of staying connected. I poured my soul into those pages. And I saved copies of them. Every single one. They were all in a worn cardboard box I kept in the attic. My handwriting, my memories, my love for him, on paper. 2 weeks ago, he came to visit. I hadn't seen him in months. I thought he was just busy with work. He works in downtown Chicago now, in some office job I never quite understood. He walked in with this cold look on his face, not angry, just hard. I offered him coffee. He didn't touch it. He sat on the edge of the recliner like he couldn't wait to leave. "I've been in therapy," he said right away. No small talk. I nodded. "Okay. I've been working through some stuff, and I need to move forward. Without you." It took me a second to process what he meant. I sat still. He kept going. "You always made me feel guilty. Like I owed you something just because you were there. You don't realize how controlling you are." That hit me. I never once told him he owed me anything. I never asked him to repay me. I just wanted him to do well. I wanted him to remember where he came from. "You want to know what really pushed me?" he said. "Those letters. I read some of them. They're full of guilt trips and expectations. They made me feel like I was never enough. I felt like I was going to throw up." Then he pulled out the box, the one from the attic. My letters. He walked to the backyard, toward the fire pit. I followed. He set the whole box in the pit, lit a match, and watched it catch. I didn't move. I couldn't. He turned and said, "You're nothing to me anymore." And then he laughed. I stood there in the smoke and said quietly, "You'll feel this burn in your own life soon." The next morning, I heard the mail truck. Joel was packing his car when the carrier handed him a thick envelope. I saw him glance at it and pause. It was from the attorney's office. My father's attorney. Joel tore it open, right there on the hood of his car. I watched his face shift as he read. First confused, then pale. He flipped through the documents. His hands started to tremble. He turned and looked at me. "What is this?" he asked. "That," I said, "is the trust fund your grandfather left for you." He blinked. "What?" "He set aside $500,000 for you. College, house, whatever you wanted. But there was one condition. You had to maintain a relationship with me. If you cut ties, the fund would be dissolved." "You're lying." "No," I said. "I sent in the final paperwork yesterday, after you burned the letters. The money's already been moved. It's being donated to the Steel Workers Scholarship Fund." His mouth hung open. He looked like he'd been punched in the chest. "He knew this would happen," I said. "That's why he put the clause in. He knew what kind of man you might become." Joel stood there, silent, staring at the packet in his hand like it might catch fire too. Joel didn't leave that day like he planned. He stayed in his car for over an hour, just sitting there, flipping through the paperwork again and again. At one point, he even opened his laptop on the hood, trying to fact-check the documents. I watched him through the screen door. He looked like he'd been hit by a truck. That night, he knocked on my door. I didn't say anything. Just opened it and stepped aside. He sat at the kitchen table, the same spot where his mom left the note. The same table where I helped him do math homework, where we carved pumpkins, where he cried when his dog died. Now he looked like a stranger sitting there. He tried to act calm. "Dad, maybe we rushed into that conversation yesterday. I've had time to think. I didn't respond. I think we can work something out, he said, with this fake calm voice, the kind you hear in a courtroom drama. Maybe we go talk to the lawyer together. Maybe we say it was a misunderstanding. They'd reinstate the fund, right? I looked at him hard. You're not here because you care, I said. You're here because of the money. He looked offended, but it wasn't real. Dad, come on. 500 grand doesn't just disappear. There has to be a way it didn't disappear, I said. It's going to students who actually respect where they came from. He stood up then, angry. You manipulated this whole thing. You made it so I couldn't walk away from you without losing everything. No, I said. I gave you everything. And you threw it in the fire. He stormed out again. I thought maybe that would be the last of it. But I was wrong. A few days later, I got a call from my neighbor, Mr. Klein. He told me Joel had come by asking questions about my house, about my health, about whether I had a will. That same night, my mailbox was ripped off its post. My tires were slashed. I didn't want to believe it was him. But the next morning, I found a crumpled copy of one of my old letters, the ones he burned, shoved through my broken front window. Someone had fished it from the ashes. There was only one person who could have done that. I called the lawyer. Can we prove he's been trying to retaliate? I asked. We can try, she said. But it'll take more than vandalism. So I started documenting everything. I got cameras. I logged every strange thing that happened. And I started digging into Joel's life. Turns out, Joel wasn't doing as well as he let on. That job in Chicago? It was gone. Laid off 3 months ago. He'd been lying. He was living on credit cards. He sold his car and leased the one he was driving. And worse, he had taken out loans under my name. When I confronted him, he didn't even deny it. You owe me that money, he said. After all those years of guilt and control, I deserve something back. I felt something snap inside me. This wasn't just about the trust anymore. This was deeper, dirtier. I made a decision, one I never thought I'd make about my own son. I went to the police. I handed them every document, every letter, every photo from the security cameras. I gave them everything. He crossed the line. After I turned in everything to the police, I thought maybe I'd finally be done with him. But Joel wasn't done with me. A few days later, I got a visit, not from the cops, but from Child Protective Services. They were following up on an anonymous report. Said it claimed I was hiding a young child in the house, neglected, possibly in danger. I almost laughed in their faces, but they were dead serious. They walked through the house, opened closets, checked the basement, took pictures, asked questions about my daily routine. When they left, they apologized and said it was likely a false report, but protocol was protocol. That's when I knew. Joel wasn't just angry. He was trying to ruin me. He wanted to smear me, wreck my name, humiliate me, maybe even try to get me locked up, or at least thrown into the system, all because I didn't let him walk away with $500,000. So I fought back. I went to my lawyer again, but I also hired a private investigator. Someone local, someone who didn't mind getting their hands dirty. She dug fast. Within a week, she found things I never expected. Joel wasn't just in debt, he was running scams, credit card fraud, fake GoFundMe campaigns for made-up emergencies. He even posed online as a single mom to get sympathy donations. He was desperate. He wasn't just lying to me. He was lying to everyone. And someone else had already started sniffing around. The feds. That changed everything. I gave my PI's report straight to the detective on the vandalism case. He went pale reading it. This is bigger than we thought, he said. I nodded. He thinks he's clever, but he's not smart enough to cover all his tracks. And just when I thought that was enough, I found something else. I was in the attic one night, looking through old boxes, not for memories, but for proof. Joel had been stealing my mail, too. I found letters that were supposed to go to me, hospital bills, one from the VA, even a check from an old insurance claim. All torn open, shoved in an old paint can. I called the detective again. We've got mail fraud now, too, I said. He didn't even hesitate. We're filing formal charges. But I wasn't done yet. I called his old boss in Chicago, the one who fired him, just to ask what happened. Turns out, Joel didn't just get laid off. He got caught hacking into the company's payroll system. They let him resign quietly to avoid bad press. And guess what? He listed me as his emergency contact. That gave me just enough legal footing to request some documents. His HR file, including the company's internal investigation. It was damning, and it was mine now. But then something happened I didn't expect. Joel showed up again. This time, he didn't come yelling. He didn't bring anger. He brought tears. He stood on my porch and sobbed. Told me he was sorry. Told me he didn't mean any of it. Said he needed help. That he was scared. That he was being followed. I stared at him. For a second, I felt that old pull, the father in me, wanting to help. But then I saw it. That little flicker in his eyes. He was performing. He was still trying to work me. Joel stood on my porch, fake crying, hand shaking, trying to look like a broken man. He kept saying he was sorry, that he was scared, that he was lost, that he needed me. But I'd seen that look before. I remembered it from when he was a teenager and got caught stealing from the corner store. He cried then too. Said it would never happen again. But it did. Just in bigger ways. He wasn't here for healing. He was here because he knew the walls were closing in. He thought he could manipulate me into backing off. I let him inside. I sat him down at the kitchen table, same spot he sat in when he was 5, when he cried about his mom leaving. But that boy was long gone. I looked him in the eyes. Do you even understand what you've done? I asked. He wiped fake tears. I made mistakes. No, I said. You didn't make mistakes. You chose to hurt people. Over and over. You didn't just burn my letters. You tried to burn down everything about me. He sat quiet for once. I slid a folder across the table. He opened it. Saw copies of the GoFundMe scams. The credit card fraud reports. The company file from his old job. The police report. The PI's photos. Even screenshots from his fake accounts. His hands started shaking for real now. I know everything, I said. And so do the police. I gave them this already. He looked up, desperate. Dad, please. Don't let this happen. I'll go to jail. My life will be over. I leaned in close. You already burned your life down. This is just the fire finally reaching your feet. He started crying for real now. But it didn't matter anymore. You think I enjoyed any of this? I said. You think I wanted to destroy my own son? I prayed you'd turn it around. But you didn't. And I can't protect you from consequences you created. I got up and left him at the table. 2 days later, he was arrested at a gas station in Merrillville. Tried to use a stolen card. The clerk recognized him from the local news. They charged him with identity theft, mail fraud, wire fraud, and violation of a protection order I filed right after that porch visit. The judge denied bail. Said Joel was a flight risk and a danger to his own father. But it didn't stop there. Remember the trust fund? I met with the scholarship committee for the Steelworkers Union. We worked out something special. We created the Joel Legacy Scholarship, named after him, ironically. Every year, 5 working-class kids from broken homes would get money for college. Every dollar came from what he lost. His name was printed on every award certificate. Not as a donor, as a lesson. This fund exists because one man forgot where he came from. Let that remind you never to do the same. He wrote me letters from jail, begging, apologizing, then threatening, then begging again. I didn't answer any of them, but I kept the last one. It said, I hate you for ruining my life. But I hate myself more for giving you the chance. That was the last thing he ever wrote to me. I thought it was over. Until I got a call from a woman named Danielle. She was Joel's ex-girlfriend. Said she saw the news and felt guilty for staying quiet. Said Joel had forged her father's signature too, took out a loan in his name, left her with the fallout. She cried on the phone. Said, I thought I was the only one. I told her, you weren't. People talk about revenge like it's hot and wild, like a punch to the face. But real revenge? It's cold, quiet. It doesn't scream. It doesn't need to. It just waits. And when the truth finally shows itself, the ones who laughed at you while they lit the match, they burn worst of all. As for me, I sleep well now. I still write letters sometimes. I just don't send them. They're not for Joel anymore. They're for me.